This is the Crowdcrux Crowdfunding Podcast with Sal Briggman, where we cover everything you need to know to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign. We speak with proven entrepreneurs who've raised money from the crowd and want to teach you how to do the same. Stay tuned because we're about to reveal how to launch your dream project. With your host, Sal Briggman.
Before we get started with this podcast episode, I want to take a second to introduce you to my friends at Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping out your Kickstarter or Indiegogo perks or rewards, Fulfillrite is the absolute best company for you. I've been working with them for a while and I can vouch for their services. They make it dead simple and take all of the headache out of shipping out all of those boxes, all of those orders to your backers and your customers. If you want to check them out, go to fulfillrite.com at fulfillrite.com. What up, crowdfunders? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, we talk about Kickstarter, we talk about raising money successfully, and I also try to bring a bunch of different types of guests together here for you so you can see different perspectives, so you can get a sense of different products that are working well on Kickstarter, and finally, so that you can actually see many different success stories that are happening around the world. Crowdfunding is not just relegated to the United States or the UK or even Canada. People around the world are using this in order to launch new products, get attention, start an online business, raise money, etc. And today we actually have an individual, an entrepreneur, an engineer, someone who's designed a product coming from Taiwan. So Taiwan, for those of you out there that are in the international audience, if you struggle with maybe some of the cultural differences between Kickstarter and your particular country, I think you're going to like today's episode. And also just hearing about how you don't necessarily need to speak perfect English or know perfect English in order to successfully raise money. It all comes down to your video, it comes down to the images, it comes down to the actual product that you've created and understanding those users. So we're going to hear today a little bit about how this individual was able to put together a killer Kickstarter video, how they were able to assemble a page that conveyed tremendous value and also got people amped up and excited to be able to own one of these products, and sort of the story behind the product, the Perfect Cut, which is an all-in-one utility knife for complex shapes. It's really like this multi-purpose knife that you can use if you are creating scale models or making tiny miniatures, or you're a DIY kind of person. You can use this knife to really help with a lot of different process there. So we're getting into that today, but also for those of you out there that are interested in learning more about how Kickstarter works, specifically how do you get funded, how do you actually gather a crowd before going on the platform, what do you need to know when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to putting together a prototype, how do you actually have a campaign launch that does well. And you've been listening to the show and you like the way that I sort of narrate this, and also my excitement that I bring to the table, you can go and check out the Kickstarter Launch Formula, which is available on Audible. Kickstarter Launch Formula is the book that I wrote that is the culmination of the last 6 or 7 years learning about this platform, learning about what works and what doesn't. So if you're interested, you can go to crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio and you can grab a copy of the Audible version for the Kickstarter Launch Formula. Again, that's crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. And that link will take you to Audible. You can also sign up for a 30-day free trial and you'll get a free copy of the Kickstarter Launch Formula. And even if you decide to cancel that trial after the first week or the first 2 weeks, you'll still be able to keep the copy that you got for free of the Kickstarter Launch Formula. So it's really a no-brainer there. The second thing I want to mention really quickly is if you're interested in having more of my personal attention when it comes to your launch, if you're interested in basically letting me look at your project and get a sense of whether or not this is a good fit for Kickstarter, what are the next steps necessary that you have to take, and also introduce you to key resources and people that I think would help you in this industry, I do offer a one-off coaching session I also offer obviously like long-term programs and other courses and such that go into that. But this has actually been a really popular option recently for people also that are in the early stages and that are interested in getting my thoughts on their project. Also for people, quite frankly, that want to have me look at what they've assembled thus far and to give feedback on their project. So if you're interested in a one-off coaching session with Sal, with me, you can go to crowdcrux.com/coaching. That is crowdcrux.com/coaching. You can find out more about what you get there. And also you just enter your name, email, some other information, tell me a little bit more about your project, and we can get started and you can do a personal coaching call with me. Well, guys, I'm excited to get into this episode. It is coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Really killer interview for today. A project that has surpassed $180,000 on Kickstarter, more than 1,600 backers. Super impressive, and also a really nice product that you're going to find out about in just a second. David, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Where are you?
David.
It's great to meet you, man. Congrats on your success thus far. Maybe you could tell listeners a little bit about the product, who it's for, what does it do? You can paint a picture for them there.
Okay. Actually, there are about 2 to 3 groups of target audience we have. The biggest, the biggest friend might be model makers, DIY people, and craftsmen.
Mm-hmm.
And under that group, we have some more details like architecture students, cosplay costume players, and design students, or just anything that works with model. And most of them are a bit advanced, because for beginners who is making model, you just buy a kit. But for advanced people, they will cut everything they have to make the effect they want. And that's why they need this kind of cutter, because they are buying like plastic sheets or just any materials. Yeah.
How would you describe the perfect cut to a listener right now? They haven't seen the project yet. They want to get an idea of what this thing looks like. Can you describe what the perfect cut is and what it does?
Okay. It's actually a set of utility knife or art cutter. And we use a standard size 9mm blade. And beginning with that blade, we have different modules that could be put with. So it will got different functions like cutting a circle, very angle cutting. You can cut like 45 degree, or you can cut straight, and you can cut any angle you want. And this set of cutter actually mainly designed for you to cut sheet materials with thickness. For example, like foam board, EVA foam, or corrugated cardboard, or foam core, just anything
leather,
with thickness.
cloth, all these different types of materials. Basically, it kind of makes it easier if you're trying to make something, whether that's like your kid's Halloween costume, whether that's a new model to put the materials together. You have a compass module, 90-degree angles, 45-degree angles. It makes it seem like a lot easier and more exact.
Exactly.
So how did you actually like come up with the idea for this? Because I know that DIY and like creating your own creativity and products, all these things, like that's a really big industry. How did you come up with the idea for the perfect cut?
The first version was super simple. It's like a block of wood, and I put a cutter on it, and then it got wheels. And the idea was to keep the blade vertical whenever I cut. For example, if I'm cutting a spline, and then because our hand it's difficult for us to keep the blade vertical. Yeah. So I've just come up with the idea to have something to help me to cut vertical.
Do you have a background in like making your own creative things or your own miniatures, or do you do that in your own life?
Yeah, I actually I spent maybe a lot of time in my childhood making models. In high school, I used to make balsa wood airplanes.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's like cutting, sanding, shaving, because it's just wood, and we use that material, like the only material, to just make everything that flies.
Mm-hmm. So you basically you saw this problem, you also experienced it, and like the tools that are out there are kind of rudimentary. Like they don't have a lot of different functions. You have to figure out kind of how with a normal knife how to do this and accomplish like different angles. So it seems like you kind of came up with this idea based on your own pain point. So are you like an engineer? Are you a designer? Can you give listeners an idea of your background?
I studied engineering when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I hold a master degree of mechanical engineering. And that was when I was in Taiwan. But after that, I went to London to study design.
Mm-hmm. So So with this campaign, you started this in Taiwan. Is crowdfunding as big there? Is it a new thing there? Are people receptive to it? Because I know it's really obviously big in the United States, UK, Canada, etc. But how is the reception in Taiwan?
Actually, it's pretty big.
Nice.
We did our first campaign last year in Taiwan. And we were pledged 10,000 copies.
Mm-hmm. 10,000.
Yeah. Actually, that's more than states, but we think there are some reasons like culture, because in Asia we tend to use smaller blades, but in States or other place, people are maybe this 9mm blade is just new to them, and people used to use X-Acto, or when they hear utility knife or art blade, they will go to like the big ones, like 18 mils, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So was this your first? This was your first campaign, or you had one before this on Kickstarter?
This is my first campaign on Kickstarter.
Okay. So basically, you have this idea. You're putting together the prototype. Why is it that you decided to go and look into Kickstarter and use that as the tool to sort of get this out there to people? Like, why didn't you just do this on your own or like on your own website?
Because the main reason is that because we are just started up and we are in far Asia, and I don't think just people will just believe us and they just will just come to our website and order. And I guess it will be easier, or maybe more marketing reason, just go to Kickstarter and then get more people to know.
Mm. So it's kind of like getting access to the marketplace there, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you find any like cultural differences being, starting this in Taiwan? Any things you had to be aware of when you were launching this project from a place that's, not, from the United States or like UK, or traditionally you think of that? Did you have to be aware of any kind of cultural differences there when you were communicating your message, or not at all?
Yes, it's big difference.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm clueless. I'm just kind of curious here.
In Taiwan, it's not that big. We got 24 million people, and we know the culture because that's where I'm from. And people are not that careful with their personal information. That's where marketing could do a lot, actually.
Interesting.
So in Taiwan, it's quite easy to spread the message. We can have different kinds of marketing campaigns, such as lottery. If you share our message, someone will win something, and people are crazy about that. So they will just spread the message super efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to leave their email quite easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we can collect a lot of emails of people who are actually interested in our products. We didn't have to spend a lot on that, and we got quite good results on that. But in States or Kickstarter, because it's worldwide,
It's different.
not that easy. It's totally different. It's not that easy. And in Taiwan, people tend to believe in crowdfunding platform more than the States, I guess.
Interesting. See, I'm learning stuff every day. I didn't even know that. That's so interesting to me. I guess there's more skepticism recently. Also, a lot of stuff in the news recently in the United States related to technology companies and everything. So it seems like they're a little bit more readily viewing this in Taiwan. When it comes to actually putting together this campaign, I mean, if you guys are engineers, you're designers, how did you figure out the marketing side of this? Like the video, you have really great, beautiful images. How did you figure that out?
We spent a lot of time. Okay, when I graduated from Royal College of Art in London, that was summer 2015, and I have a set of prototype of the color already when I graduated, and I was thinking, okay, I come back to Taiwan, I want to start up, and maybe that thing is already ready for manufacture, and then I can crowdfund it with that model.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to the manufacturers, they think it's too complicated to manufacture, so I just come back and redesign. But redesign actually is pretty quick. I spent maybe just less than a year to redesign the set of cutter and have a lot of people test it. Also think about the manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
But we spent nearly a whole year taking videos and thinking about all the presentations. And because we were not that confident with video taking. Okay, we can shoot, but the storytelling part is the most difficult one. And I know if I hire some friends or directors, like freelance directors, to do a video for me, then we won't achieve this kind of video, because I will just tell them what I want and I have no second chance. Maybe just one or two, so it's nearly impossible to modify.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we did is we continuously think about the story, and we draw each scene of the video on a post-it, and we arrange the stories on a white wall. Just put every post-it on it, so we can see like how the story goes, and we shuffle it, and we spend a lot of time shuffle the story, and then in the same time we shoot. So it's like we shoot, we edit, and then we shuffle, and then we shoot more for more things, and then we edit again. And it takes like 5 or 6 months doing that.
Mm-hmm. So you basically were storyboarding. That's really common with a videographer. They would do something similar, but I think having created the product, you have a very different view of it, of how people can use it, of what went into it. So you're basically storyboarding the video that way.
Yeah.
I had to interrupt this podcast episode because I want to introduce you to my friends at The Gadget Flow. Their product discovery platform reaches 22 million people per month. They've helped more than 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns thus far, and they have a social media following of more than 700,000 followers. If you want to gain access to their marketplace and list your own product, you can go to thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today. Now, I have to ask you, so like when it came to that process, for other people out there that are looking to create a pitch video for their campaign, what advice could you impart to them? Like what were you showing in the video? How did that like progression go?
The first will be know your audience. The more detail or the more you know about your audience, the more clear everything could go. I mean, not just the video, just the presentation on the crowdfunding page as well. Mm-hmm. You have to know like what kind of people they do, what kind of people are they, what are they going to make with your tool or your products, what do they like, where do they usually buy things, or what are the tools they are using at this moment.
Mm-hmm. And that can be used then to sort of develop some rapport and some trust with people. So if they see you using this tool to make a miniature or to make something that they also are making, they're like, oh, okay, I could use it for this, or oh, exactly. I can see how this would work.
Yeah, and actually, we knew that we maybe the biggest. We were thinking our main customer were architecture students, so we spent more time on that. I mean, in the video, but we have modified it a little bit. So,
what caused you to make that change from like this is going to be for architecture students versus other people can also use this? How did you come up with that idea?
We accumulate we took surveys, and we we gradually knows more and more about our customers. Mm-hmm. And we gradually, we are like every time we send out surveys, we will get some numbers and we will ask, what are you going to make with this set of tools? So we know more and more information. And we also decide from the culture, because in Asia and in States, DIY or hobbycraft is actually with different scales. In Asia, we tend to make smaller stuff. When we are making a model rocket, that means like maybe a 1 feet or 2 feet high rocket, but in the States, maybe it's 3 meters big.
Mm-hmm. So you're making smaller stuff. It's also different, the types of things that you're making. So it kind of is like you're discovering the customer, who it is, what they care about, how they're going to use this. All these things you're sort of discovering, and that's what's informing your video and the images and all of the marketing that you're putting together.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I was looking here at your Kicktrack statistics, and basically you surpassed your goal within the first 3 days, it looks like. And then it really started to like have a strong upward trajectory, probably until like the 5th or the 6th day. Where were those people coming from? Like, was this your email list? Was this people on Kickstarter discovering this? Was this being shared around Facebook? Where were people coming from?
We have an email list, but we don't think that's that powerful, and we didn't think that's powerful.
So were they coming from Kickstarter? Where were they coming from?
Maybe half of them comes from Kickstarter page, because in their algorithm, when you are launching a new project, then you will be more possible to be on their front page.
Yeah.
So, and actually that's where a lot of people will see. In the same time, they put you in an email, and that works a lot as well.
Mm-hmm. Aside from Kickstarter, where were some of the other places that people were discovering you?
Okay, we cooperated with JLab, the service, you know. Yeah. So that helps a lot too. We weren't reported on media in the beginning because we sent out when we launched. We sent out the press package after we launched. So
So
the media thing just happened afterward. Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like to me, you sort of had this really big jump in the first week or so, and then it started to sort of lose a little bit of momentum there, and then you had sort of a surge again towards the end. So when you were in this middle period, were people then coming to you from Facebook, or was it media? I saw you got on one media publication. It looks like there, one or two. Geeky Gadgets, Fab Cross.
4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but those are not that big media. So, but I would say less like organic growing, because actually we noticed that when we are reported by media that day, that media will bring like 5 or 6 pledges. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this mostly organic happening.
Exciting. That's really good news, because for you, that means that you created something that people are resonating with and that they really like. If they're just coming to your page from Kickstarter and they're loving it and they're backing it, that says a lot about the product that you've created.
Yeah.
And I think you have a lot of focus on creating a product that, number one, is going to have great function, but also I think it has a certain degree of intelligence and design, very well thought out, for doing the job that it's you're promising it's going to do.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time doing user tests. We got 3D printed ourselves, so we printed like hundreds of prototypes and have hundreds of people test it. It's just
insane.
It was just insane.
So we talked a bit about the video. I'd love if we could maybe talk a bit about the page, because you've thought a lot about the structure of the page that you put together. What advice can you share on that part with the listeners?
The more important information, the higher it should be placed.
Mm-hmm. Making sure that they watch the video and then they see that.
Yeah, because people are actually not that patient mostly. So the main information should be just placed like upward.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still some people that want to know more, so they can just scroll down to see more information, and that's pretty much all of it.
One of the things that, sorry, keep going.
Sorry. GIF pictures are working well, and don't put too much information in one picture.
Okay, so make it so that people are one message sort of per picture.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like your entire page almost is imagery, and text is actually a really small portion of that. You're more so showing people what this thing looks like, how you would use it, and going into that.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to the crowdfunders in the audience who have already launched a Kickstarter campaign, or have actually even successfully run a campaign. And the reason is, I think you will understand this pain point most. And that is, when you finally do raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the hardest part is not collecting the cash. The hardest part is shipping out all of those perks and rewards to your backers. It is a nightmare, my friends. It's a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of headache, and it's a lot of stress. That's why I recommend BackerKit. If you have not heard of BackerKit, they help you collect surveys, they help you collect data, and the entire fulfillment process is just so much easier and so many less spreadsheets when you use their software. You can check them out at backerkit.com and use CrowdCrux for a special discount. How long would you say it took you to assemble, the entire page? Because I think you've given us a really clear understanding of like, okay, for a video, you got to think a lot about this. For the product, you got to think a lot about this. How long did it take you to assemble the actual page for Kickstarter?
We spent maybe a month.
Jeez.
And
that's a lot of due diligence right there. Yeah.
Oh, actually, 1 month was. I think 1 month is too short for us. Okay, we have only one full-time, which is me, and one part-time. So we didn't work that fast, but we spent 1 month, and we thought that was a hurry. Yeah,
keep going.
And that month was actually we didn't spend a lot of time shooting those pictures because we just have it already, but we still spend a lot of time shuffling and creating all the materials.
Yeah. And also, I imagine figuring out what should be labeled, how should you have the benefits, like simple, fast, precise. What should you stress, all of these different things.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult for us, especially when our mother tongue is in English. We can write in English, or we can write for native speaker who can understand, but for marketing phrase, or it's just different.
Yeah.
So our strategy was we minimize the text, but we maximize the images.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really a good bit of advice there, particularly if you're an international creator, you're not in the United States. I think still images and video is honestly the most powerful way to communicate with people. So it's not actually a disadvantage if you don't speak English or it's not your native language. You can still communicate a beautiful message, using
that's true.
that. So when it comes to you, like what's been the coolest part of this project for you? Because you had this idea for a while now. You put a lot of hard work into it. What's been the coolest part of this project for you?
We saw a lot of. We have some customers that are actually like very professional cosplayer, and they make their own costume, and they were just making super scary ones, and they just told us this is super helpful for them, and that's when I am most satisfied.
Because you made something that people then, it's a tool, that they can then use to actually make other things. Yeah,
and they can just tell me that this just save their time a lot, or save their life by, if they don't have our cutter, they will have to send a lot of foam.
Mm-hmm.
And this will just save their life. Yeah.
What did other people around you think when you were doing this project? Like, did your parents give you any pushback, or any other people being like, why are you spending so much time on this? Or was it pretty supportive there?
Okay, I solved this problem. I solved the parents' problem last year by the first crowdfunding campaign. But before that, when I come back from London to Taipei and I decided to do startup, I argued with my parents just on the first night after I landed. So so we had a very serious arguing, and I told them, don't worry, but they couldn't believe me because I hold an engineering degree, and for most of people in my age, or they will just go to some technology companies and work there for years. And it's just different from my plan.
Yeah.
And my parents couldn't understand what I was doing. I don't think they understand a lot even now, but because actually they own a small business, and it was a trade company. So their idea of doing a business is you buy and you sell. But for this kind of for what I'm doing is I design and I spend a lot of money and I have no income for 1 or 2 years, and then boom, for just first a day I got $1 million, something like that, Taiwanese dollar.
So for them, it was different from what they were used to, which is like retail, basically. But for you, you're creating something new that no one has ever made before. So it's more of innovation, if you will.
Yeah, and I believe that's why I was born.
Wow, that's deep, man. That's awesome. That's deep.
Yeah, because I didn't have this idea when I was a child, but when I grow up and I look back, I kind of find that I might be good at making some useful things, or just making something that work. And even when I was in London, I tried different. As a designer, I tried different ways to do design, but in the end, I found that I still like the problem solving way. That means I want to make something useful, and then I will try different ways or different method to achieve my goal. That's kind of engineering thinking, but I think it works on design with me as well.
Yeah. So I guess the lesson here is don't be afraid of your parents. Or don't be afraid of doing what you want.
Actually, that's not just parents, because when you are starting, a lot of people they won't agree with you later because they don't have the big picture or the image or the I cannot come up with that.
The vision.
Yes, the vision. And so they don't have the vision, so they would just don't understand what you're doing, and they don't want. Okay, that's a bit dark, but they don't want you to success because that will make them feel they are
lower.
Not that good. Lower. Yeah. But once you start it, that's another story, because a lot of people will just say, okay, when you are not that, when you are not succeed yet, they will just keep saying, okay, just told you I don't do that, but when you are just having a little fail, they were just saying like that. But you couldn't just stop there, because once you stop, those people will just say, okay, now you know, now they are right.
Yeah, you have to kind of prove them wrong almost.
Yeah.
Very well said. I think a lot of people in the audience will really relate with that, because I mean, we're all doing something. There's always that uncertainty. There's always that we don't know if this is going to work or not. And to be able to see your product in the hands of other people, helping other people, and also fulfilling that vision that you had to make something and get it out there in the world, I think that's awesome, man. Where can people go and learn more about the perfect cut?
Yep.
What
You
link
mean?
can they go to?
We at this moment we're still on Kickstarter, and after that we will be on Indiegogo, and we will have we have a landing page, but we put more information on crowdfunding page at this moment. So just go to Kickstarter.
Okay. So you can go to Kickstarter, The Perfect Cut, just type that in there, or in Indiegogo if they're in demand. So this basically, you can cut through a lot of different stuff, cardboard, foam board, leather, cloth. If you're into, indie creation, or you're looking to put together miniatures, anything like that, I urge you guys to go and check it out. But David, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing this great information, and appreciate it. And we'll have to watch and see how your next campaign goes.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me here today on this show, on this episode, spending the time with me. I try to release new episodes every single week for you, going into how to launch and construct one of these different campaigns, how to raise money. I also want to show you real people with real products that are absolutely killing it on Kickstarter. I mean, raising 6 and 7 figures. You can go into the archives of this show. I urge you just spend a little bit of time, maybe one day every single week, and binge listen to this show. Listen to 2 or 3 episodes, maybe as you're driving down the road there. Maybe you're in the subway, maybe you're listening while you're at the gym. I like to actually listen to podcasts a lot if I'm like doing dishes, because it's kind of like easier for me. I can sort of tune out what I'm doing. So if you're interested, go and check out some of the other episodes there. But if you are more into looking for like a step-by-step process, you don't just want to hear me talking with another entrepreneur, but you really want just the goods. Like, how do I do this thing? You can go to crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio, and you can pick up an audible version of the Kickstarter launch formula. That is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. And you can also sign up for a 30-day free trial of Audible. You'll get a free copy of the book. And also, if you decide to cancel that 30-day free trial for any reason, you will still be able to keep a free copy of the Kickstarter launch formula. And finally, if you've been liking what you've been hearing, maybe listen to 1 or 2 of these podcast episodes, and you want me to bring my time and attention and perspective to your own individual project, you want me to look at what you have together and either tell you, number 1, is this good or is this not good? What can you improve on? What are the steps you need to take going forward? How can I help you? How can other people in the industry help you? And also some of the tools and resources maybe you should be aware of. You can go to crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link will take you to a form where you can basically enter your name, some other information about your project, tell me a little bit about your funding goal, what you're trying to achieve here, and I can get back to you. And you can do a coaching call one-on-one with me, go into a really in-depth session when it comes to review, feedback, homework, action items, all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that with a coaching call. And it also will introduce me to you. And it helps me, I think, a lot when it comes to understanding what it is that you want to get out of this. Because I do have some students that are only looking to raise, $25K, $50K. I have other students that are looking to raise 6 figures or 7 figures. And the launch for those are two very different things. Same thing with the category. Like if you are in the technology or the gadget category, design category, your launch is going to look different than if you're trying to raise money for an indie film or you're trying to raise money for something else. So I try to apply all the stuff that I've learned, all of my cumulative knowledge, and help you with these coaching sessions. So you can go to crowdcrux.com/coaching, book an initial call with me, and we can get started ASAP. I think that rhymes. All right, guys, I enjoyed this. Look forward to the next episode we have coming up next week, and I will see you next time.